PeopleSoft Internet Integration Broker. In PeopleSoft, so many integration technologies are there. If you talk about application engine and CI, it's a we can consider it's a integration tool, but in one way, like in application designer and component interface, whenever we are building one interface which will act as an integration layer. Geeta, could you please go on mute? Yeah, thank you. It will act as an integration bridge, but it will generate the data or it will load the data which is coming from the third party. Here, what we are doing, we are generating a file or we are awaiting for a file to be loaded in our systems. Mostly all these interfaces like application engines, CI, all these interfaces are night jobs. Nighttime batch jobs we will run, and we will try to load the data or generate the data from the PeopleSoft. It's a type of integration. Batch integration, we can simply call it as a batch integration. We will schedule all these jobs at night, which won't disturb the users' regular transactions. Here, next thing, what is integration broker? I can call it as a real-time integration. What is real-time integration? Just we will talk about one simple example. Okay, let's our client is maintaining two systems, two PeopleSoft systems, PeopleSoft HCM and PeopleSoft CRM. In PeopleSoft HCM, I am hiring number of employees every day. In PeopleSoft CRM system, I am expecting those employees should get loaded into the CRM system also. Why? Why? Because whenever an employee hired in PeopleSoft HCM system, he should link it to the CRM system for all the customer support. Then, without using integration broker, I will hire number of employees today. At the end of the day, what I will do, I will create one batch file with the help of application engine or CI. Application engine. Why? Because I am talking about outbound. In the HCM system, I will create a process which will generate a batch file with all the new hired employees data or terminated employees data, both. I will create a batch file from HCM system. Whenever the batch job successfully completed, the HCM job will create a batch data file, and once the job was successfully completed, I will run a job in CRM system which will pick the file and it will load into the CRM system. It's a daily activity. It's a bad job. That means your details, okay, you are a new hire in the system today. Your details will be loaded into the CRM system. You hired today, but your details will be available in the CRM system by tomorrow. Now my client is asking, why don't we build a integration bridge, like whenever I successfully loaded employee into the HCM system, at the same time employee should load into the CRM system also. At the same time, employee should load into the CRM system. Then we can call it as a real-time integration. Real time, here we are not waiting any night job to be run. It's a real time integration. That means whenever you successfully hide employee into the PeopleSoft system, that means employee successfully saved in the PeopleSoft system, HCM system, then at the same time, it will trigger CRM database and it will load the same employee in the CRM database also. Again, one question will arise. Venkat, why should we still depend on application engine? Why don't we design integration broker for all the upcoming requirements? Every tool has its own advantages and disadvantages. Yes, absolutely. In the integration broker side also we have a disadvantage, like we built an integration bridge which will load the HCM data into the CRM system in real time. That means whenever we loaded data into the HCM system, at the same time we are expecting the data load to be performed in the CRM system also. But what will happen? Thousands of users are using the system. Sometimes performance issues may occur. Absolutely, you're right. Why? Because thousands of users are operating the system. They are doing the same transaction at the same time. System will face some load. System will feel some load. Some point of time, it may fail. The bridge may fail for some of the transactions. That means huge transactions, huge amount of data load. Still, we are preferring application engines. Transaction load, we will prefer integration bridge. It's a service-oriented architecture. We can use integration broker to connect in between PeopleSoft to PeopleSoft, like what we discussed. PeopleSoft HCM to PeopleSoft CRM, PeopleSoft HCM to PeopleSoft Finance. We can connect PeopleSoft to non-PeopleSoft also. That means your client is using PeopleSoft HCM and Oracle Finance. Can we integrate these two systems? Absolutely, you can integrate these two systems with the help of integration broker. That means PeopleSoft to PeopleSoft and PeopleSoft to third party. Next, integration points. Here, PeopleSoft is an ERP. It has number of functionalities it is supporting. HCM, Finance, CRM, Campus Solutions, like that. Number of functionalities it is supporting. That means whenever Oracle is building the PeopleSoft integration broker, they know if any client is using PeopleSoft HCM and PeopleSoft Finance, delivered integration points, they will have some delivered integration points. And that means That particular integration bridge is already delivered. Delivered integration points already developed by Oracle. An integration point is an interface that the system uses to communicate with PeopleSoft. Within the PeopleSoft to PeopleSoft, other PeopleSoft. That means PeopleSoft the third party. Now, it's a middleware. Yes, we can simply call it as a middleware technology. Now, it facilitates both synchronous and asynchronous. Asynchronous means one-way messaging. Synchronous means two-way messaging. Two-way messaging in the sense, I'm sending an email to you. It won't trigger any automatic reply from you. In general, it's a asynchronous messaging. I'm sending to you, that's it. Synchronous messaging. Let's take an example, text messaging. I am sending a text message to you. Based on my system settings, if the message successfully delivered to you, one more message I will get to my mobile like your message successfully delivered. That means I am sending, I am receiving a reply. This is synchronous. Asynchronous in the sense, simply I am sending. Coming to the architecture of integration broker. It has two main parts. Integration gateway and integration engine. These two. Integration gateway is a component which resides on PeopleSoft WebLogic server. Integration engine resides on application server. What is gateway? This is the architecture. This is the web server of PeopleSoft. This is the application server. It's communicating with the third party by using all these ways like SOP, like our XML, email, HTML, other ERPs we can target, other PeopleSoft applications we can target. Coming to the integration gateway, what it is? In simple words, I can tell you only one thing, like it will act as just a toll gate. It resides on web server. What it will do? It manages the receive and delivery of the messages. That's it. It won't create the message. That's very important point. It won't create the message. It manages receipt and delivery of the message. That's why I told you it acts like as a toolkit. Whenever okay, it has connectors, everything. First, this is the architecture of integration broker. This is the gateway architecture. In the gateway architecture, you see here the listening connectors and target connectors, gateway manager, gateway services. You know one thing, integration broker setup, developer is not the sole responsible person. We are not going to set up these connectors. We are not going to set up each and everything in the integration broker. DBA will come into the picture. PeopleSoft DBA will come into the picture. They will do the system setup. All these are the components available in the gateway architecture: listening connectors, gateway managers, gateway services, target connectors. Now, connectors. You see a word, connectors, listening and target, but those are connectors. What are those? Listening and target connectors, both, they will transport the messages in between the participants. Who are the participants? PeopleSoft to PeopleSoft, PeopleSoft to third party. These are the participants. These connectors will just transport the messages in between the participants. These connector supports asynchronous message handling. Here, coming to the listening connectors. Listening, the first frame in the architecture. What they will do? Listening connector receives incoming data stream. It will receive the incoming message, simple like that. Based on the content. What type of content it has? It has an XML content or HTML content. They are invoked. Listening connectors will be invoked by the third party. Like let us say, third party is sending the message. It will invoke your listening connector. Then what the target connector will do? Listening connector will invoke the message. Gateway manager use gateway services to validate the message and pass the message, and target connector initiate the communication with PeopleSoft systems or third party systems. That means listening connector invoked by the third party whenever we received the system. Whenever we received the message. What gateway manager will do? In between gateway manager, it will process each and every message that flows through an integration gateway. And it will maintain the link to other integration gateway components like target connectors, listening connectors, each of the gateway services. Let's go to the basic again. Listening connectors receives the message. They invoked by the third party system or some else. Once listening connector receives the message, it will invoke the gateway manager. Listening connector invoke the gateway manager when they receive a request. Then what gateway manager will do? Gateway manager uses messaging objects and it will decide how to route each and every request received by listening connector. Here number of gateway services are there. By using these gateway services, gateway manager performs the message validation. Gateway manager invokes the appropriate target connector based on the content of the message object. I'm repeating the word. Gateway manager then invokes the appropriate target connector based on the content of the message. it will invoke the target connector. Sometimes it will invoke the target connector and it will wait for a reply. Whenever the reply was received, the gateway manager forward the same reply to the listening connector. In the gateway services, one thing is important: integration broker objects. Two objects are there in the integration broker, main objects. IB request, IB response. If it is receiving any request, gateway manager, by using IB request, it will process the message. It is receiving any response, it will process. The next, you see some of the components, some of the services here like error handling, message validation, service operation logging. That means whenever a message receives via listening connector, gateway manager processes the message and it will perform the validation. What is validation? Whatever the message received via listening connector, first gateway manager checks. The message must contain some certain elements to be processed. That means it will make sure, such as that message identifies its requester and SOP name. SOP name is service operation name. That means that particular message which is coming from the third party, it should identify the target in our system. If any error occurred in the process, it will log an error. It will log an error in the error handling. You see, coming to the next, here the error handling. In the next step, integration engine, the one more important component in the integration broker architecture. You know one thing, it runs on application server. It uses people tools. It uses application packages. It uses people code. It uses number of combinations of people tools. Here, message will be prepared. Integration gateway, it will just act as a toll gate to pass the message. But in the integration engine, original message will be prepared. It can handle message in different formats. Here, XML, SOAP. If you are integrating in between PeopleSoft to PeopleSoft, we can call it as a rosette based messaging. If we are integrating PeopleSoft to third party, we can call it as a non-rosette based messaging. Here, it supports messages like outbound asynchronous. That means you are sending the message to the third party, only asynchronous. You are not expecting any reply from them, only asynchronous. Outbound synchronous, you are sending a message to the third party or other people's subsystem. and you are expecting a reply from them. Like that, same inbound, asynchronous and synchronous. We discussed about the connectors, gateway services. Now coming to the setup. This is the basic, these are the basic steps we will follow in the integration setup. You know one thing, first one, set up the subscription and publication servers. This is not our job. Why? Because we are not admins. We are not system admins and we don't have any privilege to handle the server. Setting up the message server, even the same, these two. We don't have any privilege here. Next, coming the setup. Okay, all these screenshots are okay. Here onwards, PIA part comes. That means the front end part comes here. First, gateway definition. Okay, we discussed about the gateway. Where we can see the gateway. Here, PeopleSoft Integration Broker navigation is available here. People Tools, Integration Broker. People Tools, Integration Broker. Configuration. Here you see the gateway. This is the gateway for me, local gateway, which is available in my machine. Are we going to set up these gateways? No. I can simply say no. Why? Because admin can handle these gateways and nodes. URL is the link to the listener connector here. Next setup is the node. Node is nothing but here, whenever I'm talking about the integration broker, node is nothing but it's just a it's a client machine and PeopleSoft machine. We are integrating these two. Okay, PeopleSoft to PeopleSoft. What it will do, its node is just, it represents a system. Node is representing a system. Whenever you are integrating in between PeopleSoft HCM to PeopleSoft Finance, then PeopleSoft HCM should have a node and PeopleSoft Finance should have a node. Whenever you are integrating, whenever you are calling one service from PeopleSoft HCM to PeopleSoft Finance, you will first target the node in the PeopleSoft Finance. First you will check that particular node is pinging or not. That means, is it working fine or not? Is it connected or not? That's why it's clearly mentioned. It represents customer suppliers. Simply I can say it represents a system. You know one thing, this is also not our job. This part is also done by DBS, where we can see these nodes. In the integration broker, integration setup. In the integration setup, node. Here we will deliver the node. You can see here, number of nodes are available. Here every system has a default local node. Here, this is my default local node, designed by Oracle. Here you see in the node connector, here you see the gateway setup properties. It's linked, and the portal employee 8.55 is the tools version. 9.2 is the application release. Any security, routings, anything. But all these parts will be handled by DBS, not by us. Next part. Here, what I would like to say, whenever we are building an integration bridge from scratch, every organization already build their gateways, already build their nodes. Our logic starts from here. As a developer, our logic will start from here. That means whenever you are getting a chance, very occasionally, you know one thing, even though you are working on integration broker, you won't get a chance to build the total integration setup from scratch. Why? Because whenever they are setting up the system, they already set up gateways and nodes. Based on what we are building the integration bridge, that's very important. What we are connecting, we have to keep in mind what we are targeting. Like let us say, employee data, we are loading from source system to target system. Let's say some of the clients are there. They are not using PeopleSoft to hire the employee, but they are maintaining benefits in the PeopleSoft, they are maintaining time in the PeopleSoft, they are maintaining payroll in the PeopleSoft. They are not hiring employee in the PeopleSoft. Then they are using their own or their old Java system to hire the employee. That means as a HR, they don't know how PeopleSoft works. They are using PeopleSoft in the backend. Absolutely. Some of the clients are there still. They are hiring an employee. Then, whenever their employee hired in the Java system, okay, let us say in the legacy system, once they successfully saved, they will, whenever they saved the data, they will try to trigger one notification to PeopleSoft system. Simply, we can call it as an onboarding process. That will trigger our PeopleSoft system. And it will call our integration broker. And it will call the corresponding application packages linked to the corresponding application packages linked to the integration broker. Maybe in the application packages we can write the employee load in the PeopleSoft. That means we can call employee personal data CI and job data CI. By calling them, we can load the data which is from the third party via XML. Most of the integration tools, generally in the integration side, clients are using XML is the language. It's triggering. Now our PeopleSoft integration broker is reading the file and loading the data into the PeopleSoft components by using the technology CI. That means again we are calling the app package. It's just a bridge. We are building an integration bridge. Whatever the application package we called from integration broker, that particular integration broker element, we can call it as service operation, SOP in the small form. We will give the SOP information to the third party or other people's subsystem. Okay, you have to call this SOP. Whenever they call this SOP, automatically that particular data will be read by our integration broker. We will write some special coding for that. Then it will read the data and it will load. Again, here we are not using any alien tool or technology. Again, here we are using the same application package. Again, here we are using the application package only. How we will define that application package? How we will link our application package to the PeopleSoft? I will show you in the tomorrow session. I will try to show you some sample documentation, sample coding part within the application. What we used, what our team is used in the integration, asynchronous messaging, synchronous messaging. Then you will come to know, you will get an idea, okay, how PeopleSoft using this integration broker technology.